Hey, hi, listeners. This is Greg Berger.
Meet Grimlock, Dinobot leader from Transformers.
And guess what? You're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Transformers, for the beats behind. We are back. Had some technical issues there with the video. I apologize, but if you are listening right now, we do have Paul Eiding for the first part of our show here. Like I said, he's been on camera, he's done stage work, and obviously a lot of voice work. We're going to talk about all that. Paul, thanks very much for your time today on a Sunday.
No worries, my friend. How you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for bearing with us through the technical difficulties. We've been Facebook friends for a while, and I've wanted to have you on the show for so long, so I'm glad you were able to finally make this happen. I appreciate it.
You bet. Just so you know, I'm missing dinner with my wife and the kids.
Oh, no. Now I feel horrible.
No, it's on me. We usually go out for a brunch, and something happened, and both the daughters were busy during the day, out of town, came back. They said, okay, we're going to go out to dinner at 7 o'clock. I said, okay, perfect timing. So I picked you over my wife, and she still loves me.
Well, you'd be surprised how many times I've picked other things over my wife. I went to a convention, Doctor Who convention in L.A. over Valentine's Day weekend, and I slept on the couch for a good couple of weeks after that. But, you know, the things we do, right?
Indeed.
I wanted to go through all the stuff. I know you've done stage work, and I've talked to several other voice actors from Arthur Burghardt and people like that who have done voice acting when they got their start in theater and the stage, and that love for that immediacy with the audience has never gone away. And I've seen other interviews where you've expressed the exact same sentiment.
Yeah. Stage is my first love because that's where I started. Started doing, did a lot of musicals. Worked improv for a few years, and it is that moment of being on stage with an audience. That moment happens only once, and I've done shows that lasted. I did Tevye and Fiddler on the Roof for 10 months.
Oh wow!
8 shows a week. Every show was different. I actually get a little upset with younger actors who say, oh, my God, I've done a show for 6 weeks, and I'm just so bored with it because it's the same thing over and over. But it's not the same thing because the audience is different each night. There's sparkle in the air, and there's a different sense every night. So, and you get that immediate response from the audience. You know whether they like you or don't like you. Depending upon their reaction to you. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I love doing cons now.
Yeah.
Because you finally get a chance to get one-on-one with people who have seen your work and express, their feelings about the work. We actors, that's what we do it for.
Right.
We do it. I could be an incredible actor, but if nobody sees it, who cares?
And I mean, the work you've done, like I said, going all the way back to some of the stuff that you started out in the mid 70s, doing obviously a lot of voice work and on camera work in the 80s. But the thing is, you've consistently worked on modern video games that people go crazy for, like Fallout franchise and Metal Gear and things like that. So you've got literally 3 or 4 generations of fans who come up to you at these conventions, I would think.
I'm a very lucky man. I just did a con down in Florida, and it was exactly that. There were folks who knew me from Golden Girls, from the Golden Girls, from on-camera stuff, and from a series I did in the 80s that no one saw because we were opposite the Cosby Show, called The Charmings. And someone actually brought a one-sheet asking me to sign it. It just cracked me up. Yeah, so I have more mature folks. I have parents who come, fans of the Transformers and the GoBots and all the Hanna-Barbera stuff, and they come with their kids, And the kids know me from Grandpa Max and Ben 10.
Sure.
And then middle range, you got the gamers who know me from Metal Gear, God of War, and the new Walking Dead.
Yes.
Game.
Henri Lafayette.
Yeah, they're well done. Yeah. You do your homework, don't you?
I try to be prepared. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to get some of this story because I did some research, and of all the voice roles that you've done, this isn't listed on IMDb, but from what I understand, your first voice role ever was for a Lindsay Olive?
Yep. when I moved to Los Angeles from working in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, I had done mainly stage work for 10 years nonstop. But I did do some voice work for Control Data and 3M, doing in-house sort of work. And I did a fair amount of commercial work there, both on camera and voiceover. But when I moved to Los Angeles, I signed with an agency, and they told me that they would sign me on camera, but they had everybody they needed voiceover. And I said, well, if you keep me working, I'm fine with that. And one day I got lucky. I booked the first couple of jobs were nice big money makers for them and me. And the woman who headed up the voiceover department was walking through the on-camera department. They were watching my reel, and they said, "Wait, you got to watch this guy. He's pretty funny." And she stopped, and she saw and listened to me, and she heard something in my voice that said, "You know what? I'm going to give this guy a try." So she submitted me for this commercial that shot up in San Francisco, and it was a voiceover, and it was for the voice of a Lindsay Olive. And I booked it. And it was, he was kind of a nerdy little Olive, shy, and I was thrilled to get it. And then that started them saying, okay, we'll keep sending him out. And then my voiceover career began.
Do you remember, are you able to replicate? Do you remember specifically, because it's your first job, what that Lindsay Olive, can you still do the voice? Does it sound something like any of the other characters? Or
he was up here. He was kind of shy. He just wanted to be liked and wanted some girl olives to like him, And he wanted to be tasty. He was a tasty olive.
That was basically
I love it. See, I love those little stories like that. It's obviously you could probably go on and on at length about how great it was to work on an ensemble cast like you had with Michael Bell and Peter Cullen and Frank Welker and all this stuff. But it's those little stories like that I just love hearing from actors.
You know what? The thing that got me about that is that had she not been walking through that office at that moment, and then to say, "Hey, give this guy a listen," she may not have called me in, and I may not have booked, and who knows what would have. I think eventually something would have happened, but not the way it did. And the same thing happened with when I first got here in '83 in L.A. I did a play called Cloud 9, and it's a wonderful show. I played 3 characters. I played a Cockney soldier. I played an African manservant because it takes place in colonial Africa, British colonial, and it was intentional that it was a white man playing a black man. There's no makeup or anything like that.
Huh.
And I also played a 5-year-old girl. Yeah. Some men played female roles. Females played male roles. It's an amazing show.
Huh.
And Gordon Hunt, who was at
Sure.
the time the director and casting director also, excuse me, at Hanna-Barbera, happened to come and see the show. He liked what he heard and what he saw, and he called me in and asked me if I would do a general audition where I read 10 different types of characters. And then he started, booking me, calling me in for jobs.
With
And
all the voice work
really,
you've done, do you have as you kind of progressed? I mean, you were in, obviously I know you as an 80s kid from Transformers and Transformers the movie, but you've done all this like the Toxic Crusaders and things like that. Do you remember the point in your voice career where not necessarily as an actor, because you did a lot of on-camera stuff, but as a voice actor where you kind of felt you are now an established voice actor? Do you remember when that moment was for you?
Hopefully it'll come tomorrow or the day after.
With all the roles, if it hasn't come by now, I'm not sure what. I mean, you've done some doozies, my friend.
Now, early on, it took a while because early on I was working with guys that I had listened to for years and years and years. I mean, getting a chance to work with Dawes Butler and Michael Bell.
Yeah.
And all the guys at the Transformers. These are guys that I was in awe of. And to find out that I actually got a chance to work with them, it took me a while to feel like I had arrived. I booked The Littles, and I did a couple of other series at Hanna-Barbera. The Transformers helped me feel that way. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until after that, honestly, that I felt like, okay, this is who I am. I'm going to make a living doing this.
And like I said, with the TV roles too, I mean, you were in a who's who of shows in the 80s and 90s and even currently. I mean, going from Hardcastle McCormick, Simon & Simon, Hunter, Trapper John M.D. You were on Cheers. You mentioned the Golden Girls, obviously the series The Charmings, all the way into the 90s with Empty Nest, Major Dad, Blossom, Picket Fences was a big one, ER. When you're doing these guest spots, we've had actors say that it's almost more fun to be a guest on a show because you're kind of visiting and you're not having to worry about the pressure of carrying a show or a recurring thing. But the downside is it's not the steady paycheck of the series. Do you have a feeling one way or the other about that? Because you've done both, obviously, in your career.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it's lovely to be guest starring on the show because it is, you're the new kid, you're the new meat. You don't have to deal with whatever inside stuff is going on between the actors and producers or whatever. But there are times when you feel like that you are visiting. You know that you're not part of the company. There are other shows. It depends on how it's set up. There are some shows that even though you are just a guest star, you really feel like you're part of the ensemble. There have been a couple of shows where, although they were really, in fact, Golden Girls. Mm-hmm. Golden Girls had been running for a while. It was, they had their act together. It was so smooth. Everything was done on time. It was very orderly. Everyone was kind, but you knew that you were just visiting, except for Betty White. Betty White was just, everything you've ever heard about Betty White is true. Mm. She was just effusive with her sweet words and very generous. But everyone kept to themselves because everybody has their own job to do. And it wasn't like they were standoffish or anything like that. It just, you knew that you were visiting. Other shows, just the opposite. And when I did Picket Fence, I did, I think, 6 episodes over 2 seasons on Picket Fences. And I wish people could see the show now. There must be some episodes around. But it was such a well-done piece of work. And I loved doing every episode. and you felt like you were really part of the company. However, being a series regular is nice because you got that regular check coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get to grow your character. And if the writers like what you're doing and see some possibilities, they will give you more and flesh out your character with each episode. And that happened on The Charmings, although no one saw it.
Just
we were the sacrificial lambs.
The unfortunate timing is being right across from The Cosby Show at the time.
Right.
And again, if you're just now tuning in, we are talking with actor Paul Eiding. If you have a question you'd like to ask Paul, we're going to have him for at least another 10 or 15 minutes here. You can text on the KTRS text lines at 84126. Just make sure you put in your name, like this is Louise from Illinois, or this is Bob from Belleville, or whatever it might be, and we'll ask your question live on the air. Are you okay to stick with me through a very brief commercial break, Paul?
You got it.
Perfect. We're going to take that very quick break. I'm going to play a brand new song that Joey V's not heard me do before. He's complaining about my outro music. So we're going to take this break. We'll come right back. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Roads out, the town's in danger. So you grab your Tyco Super Blocks and quickly build a bulldozer, a backhoe, a dump truck, the giant cranes, and the construction copter. Rushing to the scene, you clear the road, you've saved the town. You did it! Another great adventure with Tyco Super Blocks. They work with Lego too. Tyco Super Blocks, Road Builder Adventure Series. 9 building sets, each sold separately. New only from Tyco.
I know a boy, his name is Zach. He loves to fit, he loves to stack. Yes, construction is his knack. He's Zach, the Lego maniac. He builds in the window, he's off the wall. He builds them big, he builds them small. In Lego land, he'll rock and roll. He's Lego wild, out of control. Zach, he's a Lego maniac. Zach,
Legoland, King's Castle, Airport, Cosmic Fleet Voyager, sold separately from Lego.
Switch on Chargertron, robots like you've never seen. Switch on Chargertron, supersonic machines. Rev the meter till it's red. Launch out the tracker. Switch on Chargertron, now it's an attacker.
Hi, everybody. This is John Machida Jr., Terrible Testaverde, the Micro Machine Man, also known as Blur. I just want to let you know that you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back. Geek to Me Radio, heard right here on the Big 550 KTRS every Sunday night. I'm your host, James Enstall. Very quickly, want to tell you about our official food sponsor, Steve's Meltdown, for elevated grilled cheese, and of course, Steve's Hot Dogs for the very best hot dogs in St. Louis. They've got a great menu. I mean, these are like the best hot dog that you'll ever have in your life. And don't get me started on the fries. You might just want to go get a basket of fries just to start out while you wait for the dogs to come. They've got their bacon Jamaican dog, their gorilla mac and cheese dog, the horseshoe dog, the Hawaii 5-0 dog is another one of my favorites. And if you don't know what to try one of their hot dog flights. That's their top 8 hot dogs. There's 8 halves of the Chicago, the gorilla mac and cheese, the bacon cheeseburger dog, the St. Louis dog, chili cheese dog, backyard barbecue dog, and the bacon Jamaican that I mentioned. That way you get to sample them all. If you're ordering online, maybe you kind of don't want to go out of the house, it's hectic, it's getting hotter, you want to stay in, order online, however you get them sent, DoorDash, Grubhub. If you go to Steve's Hot Dogs STL, put in the code GEEKTOME, GEEKTOME, you'll get $5 off your order of $25 or more. That's only going to last for another month, my friends, so make sure you do that now. Your tummy and your wallet will thank me for it. Steve's Hot Dogs STL.com. Very proud to have them as our brand new food sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. Chatting for a little bit longer here with my guest Paul Eiding about his many roles. I got to ask you about Star Trek, because for just that one episode, that's a beloved episode. Your Ambassador LaQuelle in that is one of those kind of recognizable characters, and I think people hear your voice and they kind of, you don't even need the makeup, they initially recognize that as you. I assume you still get a lot of love for that character, yeah?
I do indeed. And if I was dressed as Ambassador LaQuelle right now, I'd be asking if Steve's delivers to Los Angeles, because you just made me very hungry.
Well,
remember, my wife and kids are out to dinner. Yeah, my wife and kids are out to dinner. I'm sitting here, And man, it really sounded good.
Well,
I had a.
Go ahead.
I had a great time doing that show, because my job was to hang out with Commander Troy. Marina was lovely to work with, and eat chocolate, have desserts, have candy, and play games. It was like a real tough job.
I know. Sounds pretty hardcore. But to be part of that beloved franchise, and then with the voice work you've done in video games, you're part of the Star Wars world as well, so you kind of get to tread in both. I
said earlier, I'm a very lucky guy. Yeah, the old the Republic. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
I'm just, I'm blessed, man. Working on Star Trek. Meeting all those guys and everyone being as kind as they could be and inclusive. That's another one where you really felt like you were part of the team, which is really, and it always starts with Picard,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's cool, too, because with all the different stuff you've been in, you have so many action figures of yourself. There's No Zone figures out there from Toxic Crusaders, obviously Perceptor figures, GoBot figures. Do you have any of these figures that you've kind of like gotten, or people have gotten for you? It's like, hey, this is you. Do you have any of that, or is it kind of just relegated to, I enjoyed the show, that's great, but you don't keep a lot of stuff like that?
Oh, of course. People give them to me, and I've got them. I'm a Smurf.
Yes.
I'm Chimney Sweep Smurf. I'm Reflux from the movie Incredibles 2.
Right.
Name's Reflux, medical conditioner, superpower. You be the judge. I've got that. I've got probably 6 different Perceptors, including two extras that were made for me. Soft plushies.
Oh, nice.
And Grandpa Max there are a couple of different Grandpa Max toys. I got a bunch of them.
Have they
and there's also I co-wrote a comic book called Blastosaurus. And Blastosaurus is a triceratops that walks around. He's kind of a mutant, a hero kind of guy. And we've got an action figure. Well, actually, it's called a non-action figure, an inaction figure, because it doesn't do anything. It just sits there as part of the gag.
Have they made a Colonel Roy Campbell action figure from the Metal Gear Solid line? I'm surprised they haven't, because I know they did some Metal Gear Solid figures back in the day from the original game. But did they ever make Roy Campbell, Colonel Roy Campbell figure for that series?
I don't know if they have. I've seen them. I've seen one, but I think someone did it himself. I don't think it's for sale anywhere. I don't think so.
Yeah, the custom figures are all the rage. People have Instagram channels dedicated to custom making figures. It's absolutely brilliant to see.
I know a lot of people have they've combined Perceptor with Blaster. They've combined Perceptor with Wheeljack. I've got one bone to pick with. I know we're on to figures, but the Transformers, the movie.
Yeah.
They've got great posters for the movie that came out in '86. Great posters. They're beautiful. Several variants, and not one poster has Perceptor in it, which is really irritating.
Yeah.
Because Perceptor lived through the movie. I mean, he existed through the movie, but he's not in any of the posters.
That's true. Yeah, he goes on to be throughout the season 3 and 4 of Transformers as well, because he's right there with Rodimus and Ultra Magnus and everything else.
Right. But for some reason, he's not important enough to make the posters.
Well, I would disagree. I think he's definitely important enough. I'm not sure why whoever made the posters. If you're listening right now and you're a poster artist, that needs to be rectified. So I'd like to see some custom Transformers posters. Would be great.
There you go.
And I know one of the cool things you worked on, I've just got you for a few more minutes, but the Savage Dragon show, because that was those Image comics that came out in the 90s. Eric Larson created this character, Savage Dragon, and you were in that, and it reunited you with so many of your former cohorts from Transformers. Neil Ross, Frank Welker, Peter Cullen, Michael Bell, all did roles in Transformers as well as Savage Dragon. Then Jim Cummings obviously voiced the titular character. We had Rob Paulson in that one. We had Jennifer Hale, Dorian Harewood, the great, unfortunately, we lost Renee Auberjonois. I can't even talk right now. My mouth is failing me.
Auberjonois.
Thank you.
Renee.
Someone who studied French for 4 years, you'd think I'd get that. But that must have been a fun series to work on, too, with so many of your old friends on that series.
It was great. It really was. And not just that one, but that one and the Toxic Crusaders.
Yes.
I don't know. I've probably done 7 or 8 different series with Greg Berger and Michael Bell. And what was the other one? Oh, gosh. Bruno the Kid.
Okay.
That was with Mark Hamill.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
But the great thing is that back in the day, we got to be in the room together. Doesn't happen anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the sad
and
things.
We really miss it. One of the good things about doing Ben 10 is I think we may have been one of the last shows that still brought everybody into the booth at the same time. And
COVID quickly changed that, but then a lot of the people working from home, how the technology's changed, people have, especially now, they've got just booths in their apartment, they're recording things. Video games especially, too. Kevin Conroy famously said that it was like root canal on steroids to do video games because you're just by yourself. You're not able to interact with the other actors, and they're like, okay, now say the line. Okay, say it again with a wry smile. Okay, say it now with some irony. And it's just, the video games aren't as fun when you're not able to get that immediate, much like stage work, that immediate interaction from the person across from you.
Absolutely. Always my preference, working with the other actor. That was the other thing that made the Metal Gear special. Not just the writing, but the fact that we got to work together, because there's an immediacy and there's a spontaneity that happens.
Right.
There's also a lot of laughter, so you're messing up a lot because you're cracking each other up. But that's the joy of it.
And again, I appreciate your taking the time tonight on a Sunday. I feel like we need to set a time where I can get you on again because we've got so much more. I've got barely scratched the surface on the notes that I took. If people want to keep up with you online, are you very active on social media? Is it mostly Facebook?
On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we'll put links to that. If you're listening to the podcast version, scroll down to the bottom of the page. We'll have links to all of Paul's social media in the show notes. I feel horrible about ripping you away from your family for dinner and then doubly horrible about enticing you with Steve's hot dogs. But if you ever come to St. Louis, I'll buy you a hot dog flight. How about that?
That sounds perfect, man.
Perfect. Again, thanks so much for your time. Paul Eiding, I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll have you on again very soon.
A pleasure, James. Be well, my friend.
You too. Take care. There he goes, Paul Eiding, one of the greats. Just fantastic work. We're going to take a very quick commercial break. We're going to come right back, and we're going to talk to my next guest, none other than Michelle Danner. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550. Please stand by.
Man's the most powerful machines on Earth, the Rimfire Cannon and the Zone Rider Cycle. Only their awesome power can defeat the evil Overlord's Bullwhip Cannon.
Have a nice trip!
And monstrous sledgehammer tanks.
Fight the gun!
Each sold separately, new from Tonka.
The Saga of Crystar, a fantasy world of crystal warriors, demons, and wizards. Good wizards like Ogiodi, evil wizards like Zarda, and underworld demons like Moltar.
They've captured Ogiodi!
Each figure with a crystal prism that makes everything look like this.
Goodness and right, evil and might, the winner is out to you!
The Saga of Crystar collection, each figure sold separately by Remco.
Up and hills, down and dales, as we hit the dusty trail, army ants we go marching along. We We are bad, we are boss. We've got guts that squish and squash. Army ants, we go marching along. Army ants. Then it's hi, hi, he for the anti-artillery. Shout out your orders loud and strong.
Hi, this is Robert Hayes, and surely you can't be serious, but you are listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back. Geek to Me Radio every Sunday night on the Big 550 KTRS. We appreciate you making us part of your Sundays as well. Very quickly, want to tell you about our official comic book sponsor, of course, Bugs Comics and Games. If you have not been out there yet, you are missing out on some good stuff. Whether you're a longtime comic book collector or whether you're getting into it, maybe you've got kids who you used to collect comic books and the kids are loving the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or they're watching Loki on Disney Plus and they want to get more into it. Bring him to see Larry at Bugs Comics. It's like having your own personal comics concierge. And I always love it when I'm in the store and I'm browsing stuff and new people will come in and Larry will say, "Can I help you?" And they say, "Well, he kind of likes Spider-Man," or "She kind of wants to get into X-Men." And Larry's like, "What kind of stuff do you want?" And he'll narrow down like, "Well, here's a book you might want to read." And he's not going to say, "Well, here's a book. It's $500 you might want to read." He's going to find something, here's a $1 book or here's a $5 book. This is a great story with this. So as I said, it's like having your own personal comic concierge. He's very knowledgeable, and I've been going to him since he had a store up on West Florissant up there in North County. And now he's got a brand new shop on Bryan Road in O'Fallon between Highway 70 or the Page Extension. Either way, it's just a quick shot down to get to his shop right there in O'Fallon. If you would give their Facebook page a like, Bugs Comics and Games on Facebook, like that page and make sure you go out and see him. Make sure you tell him you heard about it on Geek to Me Radio. If you want to sell a collection, if you're looking to buy a bunch, if you're wanting your weekly pull list, Larry's the guy to talk to. Bugs Comics and Games. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. My next guest is an accomplished producer, performer, film and stage director, author, and acting coach. So many hats. She's got more hats than a display window outside of Macy's. We've got Michelle Danner on the phone. Michelle, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm so glad to have you on. So much to talk about, too. I find it fascinating, the work you've done. You've done this directing with all sorts of stage production and film. My first question I want to ask you is, for a layman like me, I feel like if you're directing a stage play, you get that immediacy. But then when opening night comes, I know the directors kind of step back. When you're doing film, the director's there until basically it hits the theater. So what's the biggest difference from your point of view as a professional directing stage versus directing film?
Well, both are just great rides to take. In the stage, you know that you're only witnessing it for this moment. For instance, yesterday I went to the Dolby Theater with my kids and I went to see Hairspray.
Oh, nice.
And there was such an energy in the house. I mean, people just love that show. And the numbers are so dynamic. And it's the energy of seeing it live. And nothing takes the place of that. Also, in terms of that show, you are seeing numbers that were not in the movie. The movies are great because you immortalize it forever. I love both mediums, I have to say. I don't like one better than the other, but when you're on stage, you get a chance to get it right the day after. When you're on film and you shoot it, that's it. You've done it, and you can't take it back.
Yeah. I mean, and we just had Paul Eiding on the show before you, and he said that voice work, on-camera work, his first love is still that theater because there is that immediacy with the audience. There's that connection that you have with the people right there in that moment, which really can't, as you said, can't be replicated.
Exactly. And so therefore, I mean, I love the theater, but, I've been doing movies, and that's an extraordinary medium. I did Miranda's Victim that premiered at the opening night movie in Santa Barbara, and there were over 2,000 people in that theater. It was the historical theater, this Arlington Theater, and watching a movie with 2,000 people around you, I mean, that's also unparalleled.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's one of the things I've always said is when you've had that movie theater experience, kind of like a stage, but you're kind of, as an audience member, vibing off the other audience members. Comedies are always a little bit funnier when you're seeing them with a crowd. Action are always more little action-packed when you've got a crowd around you, kind of. So to have that feeling, especially if it's a series or a movie that you have put your heart and soul into, I'm sure is very gratifying as an artist.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, anything that's creative is gratifying as artists, for sure.
And with all the work you've done, I mean, you kind of, for lack of a better word, came up in performing, having that in your blood with what your father had done. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he opened the first William Morris agency office in Paris. You were having people like Marlene Dietrich and Sammy Davis Jr. over to your house for dinner as a kid. I mean, to grow up like that, I would find it hard not to want to get into show business myself.
Yeah, I definitely grew up in the middle of a showbiz family, and we always had artists over at the house, and there were a lot of parties, and I went to the office that my dad opened, the William Morris Agency in Paris, and was privy to listening to a lot of incredible artists talk about their dreams. And so, and I just growing up in Europe, going to museums and reading literature and going to the theater and going to movies, I just, grew up in the midst of it. And so my passion developed early in life and has continued to develop. I'm constantly, even with, my kids, discovering things, going to see things, traveling in different places.
With the stuff you've done, obviously we mentioned you're a performer, you're a producer, you're a director. With acting coach, I find that part fascinating because I, as a person, I always feel like I'm learning stuff. And no matter what I've done, no matter how long I've done it, I always feel a bit of imposter syndrome if I try to tell someone else, even if it's something I've done for 30 years, well, here's how you do something. As an acting coach, I would feel, because performers are usually very sensitive people, very driven people. How do you kind of, as yourself, you personally push past that to inspire all these other actors? And you've worked with some big name heavy hitters. How do you kind of push past that if you feel it?
What do you mean by push past?
Like for example, like how do you you know what you are capable of personally as a performer and everything like that. How do you bring performances out in other people, kind of performances that you want to see in them? How do you kind of have that?
Well, I think you always want to be driven by the story that you're telling. It all boils down to story. And, you have to stay connected to the story. And your job as a director is to keep inspiring everybody around you to stay connected to the story as well. And you have to stay passionate about it, passionate about what you want to say. And I think that passion, can be contagious. I mean, the director is that captain of the ship. And you bring on, other people to play, a community of other artists. And I really consider, the director of photography an artist, and the editor an artist. Everybody, whatever, job is happening on set. That's why I'm always, stay till the end of credits when I watch a movie, because it takes a whole family, a whole creative family to make it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, and especially you can't walk out in the end credits now because you'll miss the stinger for the next Marvel movie. So you have to stay on the I think that's one of the things, too. It's almost trained us now to stay in our seats, because I've seen movies that aren't, comic book related, and I'm still waiting through the end credits to see if there's anything at the end. So I think that's kind of nice that I see more people doing just that.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's the trick to keep you, whatever it takes to keep you there, to honor people's work, that's all good.
And when you're directing versus when you're teaching, obviously there's similarities, there's overlap, but as you just said, as a director, it's your job to be true to that story. When you're teaching, there are directable moments, but when you're teaching, what do you find is your method for teaching when you're teaching an actor?
My method of teaching is to create actors that are independent and they can go out in the world and create these characters and know how to play these scenes. And so I want people to find their way. I don't want to impose. I remember I studied with some great acting teachers when I was, a teenager, but I always ran away from anything that looked dogmatic. That scared the shit out of me. I hope I can say that on your show. That just... you can believe it. That just scared me. I just wanted to run. I hate dogma. I hate when you tell me there's only one way to do it, especially when it comes to art. I want to be able to have the freedom to find my way. And that, I think, is a good acting teacher. That's why they say when you're teaching an acting class, don't be directorial. Don't be result oriented. Let people find their process. Let actors find their way, because then that's how they'll soar when they go out in the world.
And if you're just now tuning in, we're talking with Michelle Danner about her career, all the stuff that she's done, many, many hats. Are you okay to stick with me through a brief commercial break, Michelle?
Yes, of course.
Perfect. We're going to take a quick commercial break while I play brand new music that Joey V's not yet heard me play. Inside joke, because Joey says I play those same songs all the time. We're going to take a quick break. Come right back. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Soldiers or heroes stop them. They're on the move and ready for action. Rocks and bugs and things from Ideal. Throughout time, people have asked, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Maybe it was a Manglore, like Manglore Demon. You can pretend to hatch Manglore Dragon and Manglizard, too, each sold separately in a make-believe egg. You can stretch them, squash them, take them apart. They'll return almost like new to their original forms. So if you want to hatch up some fun, you can crack open a Manglore. The Manglores, Manglore Demon, Manglore Dragon, and Manglizard, each sold separately from Ideal.
Airlandia, the Air Raiders command post prepares for the Tyrant's Dragon Wind attack. Hit it with everything we've got! Thunderclaw, launch! Remote missiles, fire! Hold on to your helmets, men!
Launch glider! Fire! Good shot! Launch claw! Launch storm dagger! Against the tyrants who win! Their armies at the command post! Rock slide!
Air Raiders command post and claw and Tyrant's Dragon Wind, each complete with figures.
Hey, it's Ralph Garman. You are listening to Geek to Me Radio. You've made an excellent choice. I can't believe how smart you are. It's incredible. Your brain is as huge as your biceps.
We are back. Geek to Me Radio. I'm your host, James Enstone. I want to make sure we tell you about our premier sponsor, the people without whom we would not be on the air. And that, of course, is the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. You know them from the website, discoverstcharles.com. We were just out there this past weekend. Had a lovely meeting with people at the CVB for a project TBD. We'll tell you more about that. Stay tuned here. But it's such a great place where there's a brand new restaurant that just opened up. And every time we're down there, we find someplace new, which is the cool thing. It's all these little shops up and down North and South Main, all these small businesses, which I've said before is so important to support, especially in this economy. If you're looking for some good food, if you're looking for a unique gift idea, someplace new to shop, check out Main Street in St. Charles. If you are out of town, like Michelle out in California, maybe she wants to go someplace new this year in 2023, start your trip at the website, discoverstcharles.com. That's discoverstcharles.com. There's lots of stuff to do and always something going on between different festivals, food truck days. They just had a brand new farmers market down there right by the river. It's a great place to just go hang out, play in Frontier Park, take your dog for a walk, have some fun, great photo opportunities, because there were some wedding parties getting photographed while we were down there this weekend too. It's always cool to see that. But no matter what you're looking to do, no matter what kind of fun you're looking to have, City of St. Charles has you covered. Start the trip at the website. Once again, discoverstcharles.com. That's discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. Talking for just the last part of this hour here with Michelle Danner. I believe, Michelle, you've got the feature film The Runner, which I think is on the film circuit. Am I correct?
Yes, The Runner is available everywhere. Saban Films distributed it. And it's a story of a kid who faces himself with having to make a very, very tough decision. He needs to go undercover to trap the big drug kingpin of the town and therefore risk his life. So it's a thriller. And, and it definitely can be seen. It's out there. It's a great performance by an up-and-comer, Edouard Philippona, who is going to have a great part in the up-and-coming Ridley Scott movie, Napoleon. So his work is incredible. And also Elizabeth Rome plays his mother, and she's fabulous. And Eric Balfour plays the drug kingpin, and he's just great. There's a slew of wonderful other actors. Check it out.
And I know, talking about wonderful actors, you've worked and coached so many, because you've got the conservatory programs at the Los Angeles Acting Conservatory, which I believe you founded, actually. Talk a little bit about that, about what your work is there.
Yes, we have two great schools, Blocks and Sony Studios in Culver City. It's the Los Angeles Acting Conservatory and the Michelle Danner Acting Studio. As a matter of fact, I had this fantastic mural artist do these quotes. If you're driving from the ocean into Hollywood, you see, you can't spell heart without art. And if you drive the other way around, the mural lights up, you can't make art without heart. Nice. And so I love these two quotes. And we have the conservatory programs for actors of all levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And people come from all over the world to study with us. And we also have camps, acting camps and film camps in the summer for younger people. It's a great school. It's a great community of artists. Artists always long to find a place where they feel that they can grow together, nurture their talent, learn craft. And I think the schools are accomplishing that.
And I was just out in L.A. in March, and I remember seeing that mural you talked about. I had no idea, obviously, at the time that it was yours, but it's a brilliant mural.
Yeah, no, it's great because it completely, these quotes embody the philosophy of our school. We have a great faculty of teachers, and the students, when you go to acting class, and this is how I have forged relationships that have gone on for decades. And I collaborate creatively with the people that I've met in class. So you meet people that are friends forever.
And you've directed people, obviously, Jason Alexander, if I'm not mistaken, it was one of your directorial debuts, if I'm not mistaken, with How to Go Out on a Date in Queens.
Yes, that was my very first movie. I equated to having gone to film school. My son is going, to school for theater and film at USC, but I didn't go to film school, but that was my equivalent. But I had these wonderful actors that came to play. It was a movie called How to Go Out on a Date in Queens with Jason Alexander, Ron Perlman, Rob Estes, Allison Eastwood, Kimberly Williams-Paisley. And I was just really lucky to have this cast. Did I say Ron Perlman? I think I did. Isa Morales. It was a great cast.
And then also you got to work with Norman Reedus in Hello Herman, which is I think it was 2012 if I'm not mistaken. But with the stuff you do when you're teaching, do you have that relationship? And like I said, you've got some heavy hitters that you've taught, some big names. Do you have that relationship where hey, I know I talked to this person. If you wanted someone in a film, is it? I don't know if it sounds like a weird question. Is it some kind of an unethical line where if you taught this person, you can't have them in one of your projects, or is that not a thing?
Oh no, it's not I don't think it's a thing.
Okay.
I think that every actor wants to be approached. If there's a great story that they're interested in being a part of, they're just happy to be asked.
And we've just got a minute or two left. I'm curious, when you're working on a feature, when you're directing and everything, I'm always curious, as a director, for you, what's the hardest part of the casting process?
Well, you want to try to get it right. You want to try to get the right, the right actor for the right part. I'm very lucky. This last movie, Miranda's Victim, that's coming out in the fall. Donald Sutherland said yes. Andy Garcia, Kyle MacLachlan, Ryan Philippe, Luke Wilson. The lead is Abigail Breslin, Emily Van Camp, Josh Bowman, Taryn Manning, Nolan Gold, Dan Lauria. I was so lucky. Mireille and us, Brent Sexton, Enrique Murciano. Can you imagine getting a cast like this? I couldn't. I couldn't imagine having a cast like this. And they're all giving, incredible performances. It's an important story about how the Miranda rights came about. And nobody had told the story. So as a filmmaker, to find a unique story that's never been told is definitely, I have no words to say, but it was pretty great. I'm not going to curse anymore on this show. But
the FCC appreciates that. Thank you. And again, we're talking with Michelle Danner, producer, performer, film and stage director, author, and acting coach. We mentioned her work with the Los Angeles Acting Conservatory. If people want to keep up with you, maybe if someone's listening and they want to find out some more about your acting classes, do they have to be in LA for the classes, or do you have an online course as well?
Yes, we actually have a lot of online classes. They stayed after COVID. So we discovered a whole other thing, and we can reach people from all over the U.S. and all over the world. And I just taught an online class today called Breaking into the Hollywood. How do you break in, like a business class about acting? I love Zoom classes. I hated them at first, but I love them now, and we have lots of them.
It's the new normal, I guess. So, yeah, if you're wanting to do one of those classes, and if you're listening to this in the podcast form after we've aired live, just scroll down to the bottom of the page in the show notes. There'll be a link so you can check out Michelle's classes. Are you active on social media? Any other places besides your website where people can keep up with you and find out more about you?
Yes, Michelle Danner LA on Instagram, and Actors International on Instagram and Twitter and all of that. So you just have to Google it and you'll be led to it.
Perfect. Such a great amount of information from you on this, and congratulations again on The Runner, where that's one of the ones I'm looking forward to seeing. It's in my queue. I'm looking forward to seeing that, and as it does the film circuit and everything, good luck with that as it keeps going.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me on this Sunday night. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Have a great rest of your night.
You too. Take care. Bye.
You too. Thank you. There she goes, Michelle Danner. Full show tonight. Apologize to everyone watching for the technical difficulties that we didn't get the video with Paul and Michelle on there. We're going to see if we can get that corrected, because next week we've got Dietrich Bader for the whole hour. Very excited to talk to him. And after that, the following week, we're going to have Paul Sun-Young Lee from The Mandalorian and Kim's Convenience. Followed that with David Dasmelchian about his new show, movie, The Boogeyman, which comes out in June. We'll talk about his role in Ant-Man Quantumania as well. So lots to talk to him about. And other than that, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. My thanks once again to my sponsors, Steve's Hot Dogs, the City of St. Charles, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau, and of course, Bugs Comics and Games. But that pretty much wraps it up for us. Joey V is in the house. I don't know which camera to turn towards. I'm going to try this one to see if you can see. There's Joey V making the show sound and look as good as it does every week. We appreciate him coming in studio. Appreciate you, the audience, listening. And until next week, my friends.
It's not in the way you watch iZombie. It's not in the way you watch The Flash. It's not in the way you love Scotty Young Art. It's not in the way you play Mario Kart. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
KTRS St. Louis.
From ABC News, I'm